Hello, this is IC Show TV. Welcome. This is Paul Milligan at the latest of the IC panel discussions. Thanks for joining us. Today's topic is AV in transport, and rather controversially titled, Isn't It Just a Nice Backdrop? Joining me today are Joey Lloyd from Nanolumens and Joe Fong from Integration Group E&E. It's no coincidence that the two of you are sitting next to me because you both enjoyed a nice win last night at the Innovation Awards, the best transport category for Changi Airport, so congratulations to you both, which obviously features Nanolumen screens, and Joe's company designed it. So first of all, the title is slightly controversial, obviously, but how important is AV to the overall experience, you think, in airports and railway stations and stuff? Joe, maybe you want to kick that off?
Traveling is a must for everybody, whether by road or by air. And I believe this is where culture changes, exchanges, education exchanges, and social exchanges as well. And this is where the platform of the mass of traffic will be there. And I believe that it is a growing trend. Everywhere people are moving around, whether within a country, from state to state. And that's where the culture of each state can be presented. And that's where the culture of the country can be presented when they first land in the country or they first land in the States. So as you said, AV and experience is not just a transport hub for information. I believe this is where culture exchanges will start.
Sure. Joey, is AV in transport just a nice backdrop?
Absolutely not. I mean, the culture is one piece of it, and as Joe mentioned, and particularly in Changi where they're bringing the culture to life, it is so important. But there's other reasoning as well. Happy travelers spend more money. Informed travelers spend more time in the places that they can shop and therefore spend more money. So being informed and being in the environment where you're happy and you feel calm and you understand what's going on around you, it absolutely makes an impact.
Sure, okay. Joey, Joey, you can answer this as well. Do owners of these kind of buildings and properties and stuff, are they aware of how integrated kind of AV systems can be in a sort of transport experience, or is that a kind of big, detailed discussion that you maybe have to have quite early on?
Well, if you look at the airports and the railway station, which they are not equipped with AV system now, they are all built up.
Yeah.
So therefore, there is a real challenge, in terms of the power to come into the buildings, in terms of the structural element, even in terms of fire code, especially in railway stations are pretty stringent in certain countries.
Yeah.
And that's where that in early stage of the design, it has to be considered. It's not just a screen that you put it up, it's not just an audio system that you put it up. Experience is one thing, but the technology and engineering is the most important of all.
Sure. I mean, Joe, you talked about that, the integration of all those systems and what it can bring. Is that a conversation that is maybe you have to have quite early on, or you have to find yourself giving a lot of detail because they're maybe not aware of kind of how much they can do?
I think that particularly with airports, you have a challenge in that they're very disconnected and disjointed in the way that they work together. Some of the terminals are owned, individually, and then the whole airport by the city. So there's a lot of challenges there, but I think in this world that we live in, and we know that sometimes, safety is a concern, I think we're going to see more of that conversation happening earlier on, because as these transportation hubs go digital, they have an opportunity to not only manage culture and environment and happy travelers, but they also are going to have a requirement to show safety information and to advise if and when there is an emergency.
Sure. I mean, you talked about, obviously, travelers being safe and happy and things like that. Are we also talking about them being consumers? Because they are, because you're at the airport for an hour, maybe 2 hours before a flight, and that's a whole opportunity there, isn't there? Joe, you're nodding.
Well, I think that's really an opportunity for any consumer to really spend their time there, not just shopping, but I believe there's information flow. Whatever the information, whether it's political information, it may be a weather, it may be social media content, it may be security as well, and this is where you can capture the mass of it. We have mobile devices, we have mobile social medias, but that platform of AV in a mass scale, you will bring people together. It can be an event hall, it can be a place that people will congregate together for a certain function, not just a display for advertisement. I think that is something that the traffic environment in terms of the railway station or the airport can consider, not just an advertising board, and that is underutilizing the AV part of it.
It's definitely more than advertising. At Nanolumens, what we're seeing is the combination of retail and flight information coming together.
Okay.
So oftentimes the retailer is using some of their displays for advertising, but they're also then showing the flight information. So then you've got your traveler who's there and says, oh, I know my flight's been delayed or it's on time. I know what time I actually have to be at my gate.
Yeah.
So therefore they're able to spend more time.
Sure.
And again, more money.
Yeah. And why does LED work particularly well in something like an airport? Is it the brightness, is that the kind of main factor?
There's a couple of reasons for it, and brightness is certainly one of those. There's no issue with ambient light. With projection or with LCD technology, any kind of ambient light can be certainly an issue. You also lose the bezels, so you're not cutting people off.
Yeah.
You're not cutting off flight information at all. And then finally, for somebody like Nanolumens, we have such an impeccable warranty. We're 6 years down to the pixel, and so you're never going to have an issue with your display.
Presumably with travel timetables, the bezel is a huge issue because it can be different between going to the platform 1 or platform 11.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm guessing there are very strict kind of health and safety regulations around railways and airports and things. Does that put a lot of integrators off, do you think? Is it a very specialised group that can only work in that environment, or do you find that you get everyone trying to get those projects because they are probably quite lucrative because they're quite big?
Well, it's definitely a big market, but yet there are entry barriers too.
Yeah.
Fire safety is a big concern, especially whereby the crowd will be there. And I think Nanolumens have great products now, and they have product that is fireproof or fire certified.
We just announced our fire retardant Nixle, which looks and handles smoke density, fire toxicity, and a few other of the Euro-Rail fire standards. So that way we can start to see displays, perhaps in the lower regions, think of the tube, or think about anywhere that's really indoors where travel and safety is really an issue.
Yeah, that actually brings the difference between a normal display and a display that can give the assurance of the owner and the consumer. Yeah, for sure.
Are you seeing with LED systems in airports especially, are you seeing they will invest in multiple screens, or they're investing in one giant kind of display for a sort of wow factor? And if so, are those kind of one big screens, are they getting bigger in size? Are people looking for more, like I said, of a wow factor, or airports are often in competition with each other, aren't they, for your business?
They are.
Yeah, I'm sure that the flow, the traffic is the number one consideration. Which is the maximizing where the screen will be.
Yeah.
It may be a combination of both. Definitely it's not just one big screen. And it should be a multiple screen, because the people flowing around should be able to move into different part of the airport or the railway station as well. And I think having a massive one is actually having a big hall. If you don't have a big hall, you can't really have it a big piece of LED there.
Yeah. I mean, presumably transport's a bit like retail in that every single inch of floor space is kind of catered for or looked held very tightly together. So I'm guessing something like LED, where it's got a smaller footprint, is probably better than something like maybe projection, I guess, or rear projection. Does it kind of work because of that? Is that another factor?
I mean, LEDs is something that definitely will surpass the real projections. Footprint wouldn't be a matter, because it is where the exposure they want it to be. So if they want the exposure, then they create the environment for the exposure. Yeah, more consideration is toward exposure to the crowd.
Sure.
Yeah, then that's a restriction of the engineering.
And with regards to transport projects, Joey, are you finding this is a once in a decade purchase or once every 5 years? How often do they kind of refresh?
I think we're seeing a real renaissance in the refreshing of different transportation centers. So we've seen it in Australia with some of the bus stations. We've seen it certainly in Changi with the brand new Terminal 4. And throughout many of the airports throughout the United States, it's going terminal by terminal.
Okay.
But their budgets are really long-term, 10-plus year kind of budgets.
Yeah, are they moving from another technology to LED, or are they moving from an old burnt out LED to a brand new lovely LED?
I think it's a little bit of everything, honestly. So, we're replacing some LCDs. There's really not a lot of projection technology that we've seen. So it's either going from old LCD technology or nothing at all. Okay.
And Joe, are you finding that? If you're putting LED into an airport or a railway station, what is it replacing in terms of the display technology?
Well, the projections are predominantly gone in airports, because of the geometry and so on. And LED is clean, and of course the effect of color is tremendously way better than the projectors.
And are these projects that take years to get approved and the funding raised? And is it a long process for you?
Well, I think after Changi Airport, I believe it's not a difficult process now because the client actually appreciate it, and it's worth an investment.
Sure.
You know, therefore, I believe most airports will consider that as part of their design, than just a option to their design.
Yeah. I mean, do airport authorities or venue owners and airport owners, do they go round to other? Do you know if they go round to other? Something like Changi is a sort of case study or an example for kind of ideas and stuff. Do you know if they kind of do that? Do they look for kind of inspiration? I know retail is very competitive. If Coca-Cola has a brand new video wall, then the Pepsi store next door, for example, will 2 weeks later will have one. There's that kind of competition. Do you see that in airports or railway stations?
They definitely do. There's all kinds of RFPs going on with all kinds of creative briefs. I'm sure you guys have seen the same.
Yeah. For the Changi Airport, the client actually went to LAX Airport, and they saw the clock tower, and they come to a decision. In the process of the building design, they added in a LED. So therefore, I think the importance of LED has been widely accepted, and I believe most airport designers will consider LED as an element, part of the design for sure.
In transport projects, where do you find the sort of the table of wants is? Is it number one reliability, or is number one the wow factor? What are they kind of looking for in terms of like the demands? How do they prioritize what they want?
I think the wow factor is one. I think a balance of both. Yeah.
I think it really depends on the nature of the project. I think we've seen it in multiple ways. I think for someone like Changi, it was definitely wow factor, and it was the ability to take so many people through the environment, through the security area in a calm and effective way. But oftentimes we're seeing it where it is about the opportunity to create more revenue in the airport, or create a new travel experience. And so I think we've seen it in all kinds of different ways coming together.
Cool. Fantastic. Thanks for the great insight, you two, Joey and Joe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.